Mortal Kombat has been around for over 30 years, with many games released. We know that fighting games don't usually have a clear protagonist, but in the case of MK, things are a bit different. Even though players can choose from many different characters, there is an ongoing story, and in every game, it follows one character in particular, even if only in a symbolic way. Mortal Kombat 1992, Liu Kang. The first game in the franchise introduces a story about fighters from different realms gathering for the 10th Mortal Kombat tournament, an event that will decide the fate of Earthrealm. Because it's an old game, there isn't a fully structured narrative, but the protagonist here is clearly Liu Kang. We are also introduced to characters such as Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Kano, Raiden, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Goro, and Shang Tsung. Liu Kang is the one chosen by the Thunder God Raiden to fight in the tournament and defeat the sorcerer Shang Tsung, freeing Earthrealm from an invasion by the neighboring realm, Outworld. The focused and disciplined Shaolin warrior wins the tournament, defeating the Shokan Goro and Shang Tsung himself, thwarting the sorcerer's plans, and in theory, saving Earth from invasion for a few years. But things don't turn out quite that way. Mortal Kombat II, 1993, Liu Kang. Continuing the story, the protagonist once again is the Shaolin monk Liu Kang, now the reigning champion of the tournament. He is lured by the sorcerer Shang Tsung into traveling to Outworld, where a second tournament is held, this time meant to truly decide the fate of Earthrealm. We are introduced to more important characters, such as his fellow Shaolin Kung Lao, the soldier Jax Briggs, the princess Kitana and her sister Melina, Baraka, the mysterious reptile, and even a replacement for Goro, Kintaro. We also finally meet the Emperor himself, the powerful conqueror Shao Kahn, who decides to take part in the tournament personally to secure his victory once and for all. As we know, Liu Kang proves himself to be the true chosen one, defeating all of his opponents fair and square, through sheer skill and strength. He overcomes even the mighty Shokan Kintaro and defeats Shang Tsung for the second time, and of course, defeats Shao Kahn, once again saving Earthrealm. Liu Kang is the classic example of a true old-school protagonist, focused, disciplined, pure, honorable, and destined to be the ultimate champion of the tournament. Mortal Kombat III, 1995, Liu Kang. Shao Kahn is not someone who knows how to lose. After recovering from the beating he took from Liu Kang, he decides to invade Earthrealm by force. Using a scheme alongside his sorcerers, he revives the former Empress Sindel under his control, and the conquest begins. Once again, the main protagonist is Liu Kang, who, alongside new warriors such as Sub-Zero's younger brother, the police officer Stryker, the powerful shaman Nightwolf, and several returning allies, rises to face the growing threat. Together they battle the Emperor's extermination squads, and our beloved Chosen One once again goes head-to-head with the Emperor, defeating Shao Kahn for the second time and nearly killing him in the process. Peace is restored, life returns to normal, the Emperor is overthrown, and Liu Kang returns to the temple, where he trains new warriors to help protect Earthrealm. Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero, 1997. Sub-Zero, Bi-Han. This story takes place before the events of the first game and features the original Sub-Zero, Bi-Han, as the protagonist. He is sent on a mission to locate and steal a powerful artifact for a mysterious contractor known as Quan Chi. The protagonist completes his mission, and we finally see what truly happened between him and Scorpion, revealing the origin of their rivalry and expanding the game's lore. The story also dives deeper into the background of Shinnok, an elder god who fell into the Netherrealm ages ago, the manipulative necromancer Quan Chi, and introduces characters such as Fujin, Serena, and others along the way. This was the first game in the franchise that wasn't strictly a fighting game, instead focusing on an adventure-style format where players explore the map, complete missions, and fight enemies throughout the journey. It's a game that gained a strong fan base due to nostalgia, and it also featured a very solid and fun gameplay system for its time. Mortal Kombat IV, 1997, Liu Kang. Returning to the mainline fighting games, we once again follow our protagonist, Liu Kang, Kang. Liu is now the head trainer of the Shaolin Temple and must help Raiden gather both new and returning warriors to face a new approaching threat, the fallen god Shinnok, who was previously teased in Mythologies. A major conflict breaks out in Edenia, where Shinnok begins his conquest. Here, we are introduced to new characters, such as the treacherous Edenian Tanya, the god of wind Fujin, who had already appeared in Mythologies, the necromancer Quan Chi, also from Mythologies, the former Imperial General Reiko, Jarek, a disciple of Kano, and several others. The story closely follows the groundwork laid by Mythologies, acting as a spiritual sequel to that game's narrative, while also continuing the events of MK3. In short, Liu Kang once again defeats a fallen elder god with his bare hands, saving Edenia and the other realms that were next in line for conquest. Liu Kang even receives a proposal from his beloved Katana to rule Edenia by her side, but he turns it down and chooses to remain in Earthrealm, training new recruits to keep his home protected. Honestly, Liu, that one's hard to defend. Mortal Kombat Special Forces 2000, Jax Briggs. Here we have another Midway Games attempt to replicate the relative success of Mythologies, but this time, the fall was hard, my friend. We follow a story centered on Jax Briggs, our protagonist this time around. The plot takes place before the events of Mortal Kombat and follows the soldier as he hunts down members of the Black Dragon clan who escaped prison with the help of Kano. This game was heavily criticized and is considered by many to be one of the worst entries in the franchise, and possibly one of the worst games of its era due to its weak storyline, terrible graphics, and awful gameplay. In the end, Jax defeats his enemies, takes down the villains, and that's basically it. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance 2002, Li Mei. Now we get a major twist. Liu Kang is dead. The franchise's main protagonist is assassinated in an ambush by a pair of sorcerers, establishing them as the primary villains of the story. Liu has his neck snapped and his soul is stolen by his greatest enemy, Shang Tsung. In this game's story, the protagonist is Li Mei, the first female protagonist in the franchise. She is a fighter from Outworld, belonging to a village that has been taken over by the two sorcerers, who enslave the population while plotting their dark plan to resurrect the immortal army of a certain Dragon King. The sorcerers organize a tournament to select a local champion, falsely promising the people their freedom. Li Mei wins decisively, having been trained by the great Boy Ride Show, a martial arts master who trained Liu Kang and Kung Lao in the past. She wins the tournament only to discover it was all a lie, and her soul is transferred into the body of one of the generals of the Dragon King's immortal army. Eventually, her soul is returned to her body, but not without side effects, as she retains memories and traits of the same undead general whose body she shared for a time. Mortal Kombat Deception 2004, Shujinko. The young Shujinko was a proud warrior who was deceived by an entity known as Damashi, who claimed to be a messenger of the Elder Gods and assigned the young man a mission to search for mystical artifacts. This mission begins even before the events of the first game and stretches across 30 to 40 years, leading Shujinko through many different realms on a journey born entirely from deception. Along the way, he gains the ability to copy the techniques and powers of the fighters he encounters. After completing his mission decades later, Shujinko discovers that he was manipulated by the Dragon King, who was able to return thanks to the union of those artifacts, the Kamidogu. Now older and wiser, Shujinko decides to take revenge on Onaga, making it his personal mission to nullify and destroy the Dragon King, whose actions were causing massive destruction, while also deepening the guilt in the heart of the now unfortunate old Shujinko. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks 2005, Kung Lao and Liu Kang. Here we have an adventure-style story that takes place at the end of the first game and throughout the entirety of the second. The plot is essentially the same, with the key difference being that this is an action-adventure game starring two protagonists, the Shaolin Liu Kang and the Shaolin Kung Lao. The highlight here is the chance to play as and learn more about Kung Lao, a fighter beloved by the fanbase, and one who arguably deserved far more development. Mortal Kombat Armageddon 2007. Taven. Here we have what might be the most bland protagonist of all, the demigod Taven. The story follows the prophecy of Argus, an Edenian god who foresaw a future in which a massive conflict would erupt, threatening the very fabric of reality and placing all realms in danger. Taven awakens and sets out on a mission to retrieve his sacred sword in order to prevent the prophecy from coming true, alongside his brother Dagon, who has now become the main villain of this storyline. Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe 2008. Raiden and Superman. This game delivered the long-awaited crossover between the Mortal Kombat franchise and DC Comics. It was here that we got the franchise's first official story mode, divided into chapters and presented in a much more detailed and structured way. The story features MK characters like Liu Kang, Shang Tsung, Scorpion, Sonya, Kitana, Sub-Zero, alongside the DC side with Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Lex Luthor, Joker, and others. Since each chapter focuses on a specific character, the narrative becomes more detailed overall, and players can also choose which side to follow, MK or DC. That said, the true protagonists, the ones who truly decide and shape the outcome, are Raiden on the MK side and Superman on the DC side. Their chapters are the most decisive and are what ultimately drive the entire story, bringing the game to a definitive conclusion. Mortal Kombat 2011. Raiden. In 2011, the franchise received its first reboot, introducing a chain of new events that opened the door to an alternate reality, or as most fans call it, the second timeline. This timeline begins with MK9 and runs through MK11. In this game specifically, we revisit the final events of Armageddon, revealing that Shao Kahn emerged victorious and ascended to godhood. To prevent this catastrophic future, Raiden sends a message to his past self, warning him about the end of all things. The events that follow feature several major changes and alterations, but it's safe to say that the true protagonist of this game is undoubtedly Raiden. Even though we still follow Liu Kang winning the first two tournaments, as he did in the original timeline, it is Raiden who guides the story. He is responsible for the changes and for shaping this entire timeline. He is also the one who brings the story to its conclusion, accidentally killing his friend Liu Kang, who fails to understand Raiden's actions and believes the Thunder God has lost his mind, and finally being possessed by the Elder Gods in order to execute Shao Kahn once and for all, saving that reality from the horrific fate that awaited it. Mortal Kombat X 2013. Cassie Cage. Continuing the story from MK9, in this new timeline, Shinnok's invasion still happens, but it is pushed back by Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Raiden, Fujin, and several other allies. Many warriors had already died in the past, but Shinnok's invasion was ultimately stopped. We then get a 25-year time jump, introducing major changes and making it clear that this is a very different timeline. The protagonist of this game is Cassie Cage, the daughter of Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade, who is also a soldier. Cassie leads a new special forces team, trained by her mother and supported by various other warriors, and they manage to contain Shinnok's return once again, after he is freed through the amulet. The story of this game is heavily criticized by a large portion of the fanbase, especially due to the idea of a teenager defeating an elder god in hand-to-hand combat, among other issues. Many fans point out that the MKX comic series, which takes place before the events of the game, is far superior to the game's story itself. The comics show the search for the Kamidogu, now reimagined as daggers, give major focus to Reiko and Havoc, and depict the Outworld Civil War, with clashes between the forces of Kotal Khan and Melina. Mortal Kombat 11 and Aftermath. Liu Kang. Here, we are introduced to the villain and time titan Kronika, who decides to interfere due to all the changes and chaos caused by Raiden, who has grown increasingly darker over time. The story becomes a full-on, time-messing spectacle, bringing together past and present versions of multiple characters, all clashing as the narrative unfolds, which, by itself, once again throws the second timeline into complete disarray. Many characters receive significant focus throughout the plot, which is later expanded by the Aftermath DLC, and it's fair to say that Aftermath restores Liu Kang as the game's true protagonist. Liu Kang had been completely sidelined in this second timeline, having died in MK9 at the hands of his former ally Raiden, and then spending years acting as a lackey for Shinnok and Quan Chi. That changes here when Raiden finally understands what must be done and relinquishes his powers to save his friend once and for all. This transforms Liu Kang into the god of fire and thunder, allowing him to defeat the Titan Chronica once and for all and reset time yet again, triggering a new reboot. In Aftermath, the story goes even further, presenting a plot where Shang Tsung claims the Titan's crown and becomes a major threat to Liu Kang. Eventually, the two clash, and Liu Kang emerges victorious, resetting time once again and opening the door to a new reality, a new era. Of course, we later learn in MK1 that this battle was so immense that it tore reality apart, creating multiple new universes where other fighters also rose as Time Titans, thus launching the Mortal Kombat multiverse, filled with endless possibilities. Mortal Kombat 1, 2023, Liu Kang. In this new game, we see Liu Kang as the protector god of Earthrealm, handing over his titanic time control powers to Garrus, who is now an ally, and focusing on what he does best, protecting his home realm. The story shows that many former enemies of the warriors were neutralized by Liu Kang before they could even become threats, allowing things to flow peacefully, at least until the arrival of a Titan Shang Tsung, a survivor from that second timeline we thought had been completely erased. Even though the plot features many characters and subplots involving the Lin Kuei and Shirai Ryu clans, the Outworld Throne, the Tarkat Plague, and more, it is clear that the true protagonist of this game is once again Liu Kang. He is the architect of this reality, the key character who makes the story move forward and explains how everything works, ultimately bringing an end to the threat posed by the alternate version of the sorcerer. Liu Kang is, and has always been, the true protagonist of the Mortal Kombat franchise. Khaos Reigns, 2024, Sub-Zero, Bi-Han. In the Khaos Reigns expansion of Mortal Kombat 1, Bi-Han's story takes on a central and intensely narrative role. However, he is soon captured by Titan Havoc, a being from an alternate timeline whose sole objective is to spread chaos across the realms. Havoc not only imprisons Bi-Han, but corrupts and rebuilds him as Noob Saibot, an agent of chaos devoted to destroying all forms of order and authority, a transformation that completely redefines his identity and motivations within this new narrative. Bi-Han can be considered the protagonist of the expansion, since much of the campaign revolves around his journey, from his fall and transformation under Havoc's influence to his internal struggle with identity and the anarchy he now embraces. His arc drives the plot forward and directly connects the expansion's main conflicts, linking past, present, and the consequences of a new multiverse at war, and, of course, making him responsible for the defeat of Titan Havoc. That's it. Thanks for watching.